All right, we're here again with my guest, Chris Daddario, and we're going to talk about a great topic today, which is something I've been thinking about for like the past, since 2008. So it's now 2024-ish, right? So it's 16 years
Yes,
I've been thinking about this. And that is whether people typically vote for a candidate or against the other candidate. In other words, do they really want the candidate they pull the lever for, or are they just trying to vote against the other candidate more? You know the expression, the lesser of two evils.
I know
right?
it well, yeah.
Yeah, and that's very popular within presidential elections. And since we only have two people to choose from each year, basically, there can be an independent candidate. This year there was RFK was in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But basically this year was Harris and Trump, right?
Yeah.
So back in 2008, when I started this thinking about this more, right? I just polled friends of mine to find out whether or not during the election of Obama and McCain, people were voting for, I didn't care who they voted for. I just wanted to know, were they voting for their candidate or were they really voting against the other candidate? And I didn't track any numbers, but I was surprised at how many people did not want the candidate they voted for. It was just better than the alternative.
Yeah.
So then when Obama ran again against, when he ran the second time in 12 against Romney,
Mm-hmm.
I did the same thing, but it was just totally informal. I didn't count any numbers, but it was overwhelmingly against Obama or against Romney as opposed to for Obama or for Trump. But so in your age group, now it's 24, you deal with a lot of people out there. You're like, what, 26? 25?
Yeah, yes.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
25, okay. You're still 25? You've been 25 a while. Seems like you've been 25 for 2-3 years now.
I'm 26 then.
Okay. Whatever works.
Yeah.
No, so in your age group, though, what do you think? Are people voting for a candidate or against a candidate?
Against a candidate. I think the lesser of two evil was, it was spread around quite frequently amongst my friends.
Oh, in this day and age, for this recent election.
Yeah, because just the amount of information out on both parties, it's easy to understand why they would have that viewpoint because you can't really trust any single party.
Well, and also there's so much bashing going on.
Yeah.
It's like both parties suck.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in our minds, I'm not saying they both suck, but I'm saying that all you hear is the negative stuff about each side. So it's really not people getting excited about a candidate, but voting against a candidate.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned something earlier about the Cheneys.
Well, yeah, they endorsed Kamala Harris.
That's Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. So if for people who don't know, Dick Cheney was the vice president to George W. Bush,
Mm-hmm.
who was the president from 2000 to 2008. And Liz Cheney was a member of the House of Representatives, I think from 2012 till 2023, and she represented the state of Wyoming. And this is a great example, though. I love when you brought it up like 5 minutes ago, because this is a great example of people voting against somebody. I read a couple quick articles. I'll just read you the titles. When you mentioned that to me about Cheney and so Liz Cheney, did she vote for Harris or against Trump? One article is Cheney makes. This is the Washington Post. It's September 7th, 2024, just before the election. Cheney makes a strong case against Trump, a weak case for Harris. Right. And then there's another article I read from September 24th, 2022. Liz Cheney promises to keep Donald Trump out of the White House. So the Cheneys are a great example of people who are not voting for a candidate. Yes, they probably pulled the lever for Harris, but they were trying to keep Trump out of the White House. Mm-hmm. Right? So then this, in 2016, I was a little bit more scientific about it, right? So in 2016, let me see who was running in 2016? Do you remember that election or are you too young? Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, right?
Yeah, I was not voting then.
Okay, so Hillary Clinton runs against Donald Trump. It's Trump's first election. It's Hillary's first presidential election. She had tried to become the presidential candidate previously against Obama, but she didn't get the nod. So now she's running against Trump, and she got a lot. She outdid Trump in the popular vote. She gets, you check these numbers, right? What did she get in, do you know what she got?
I checked for Biden and Trump.
Okay, so let's do Trump and Clinton first.
Okay.
That's right, I checked those.
Yeah.
Okay. 65,844,954 votes for Clinton. Trump gets 62,979,879, right? So both could walk away thinking, wow, we have a lot of people that like us, right? I mean, 65 million people want me to be president. And in Trump's case, 62 million people want him to be president. Now, he won because of the Electoral College, but he lost the popular vote. But in that election, I polled 280 people. And I simply asked them this. I said, I don't care who you voted for. I just want to know, did you actually vote for a candidate, or were you really voting to keep the other candidate out? Did you vote against a candidate? And out of 280 people that had voted, that I asked this question, and I spent a little time with them too, so it's not like a poller that just has a sheet and reads a question. I explained the situation, and 199 people voted against the other party, not in favor of the party. And I don't know who they each voted for or against because I didn't ask that. But that's 71% of the people. So some quick math on that is, in actuality, if you use my numbers, now I only polled 280 people and they're all in Western New York, but if I'm right that 71% of the people voted against rather than for, that means 19 million or so people voted for Clinton, 18 million people or so voted for Trump, not 65 and 62 million people.
Wow.
So then I wanted to do it again in the 20 election. And you got those numbers. How many people voted? Well, how many votes did Biden get and how many votes did Trump
1
get?
million.
Okay, let me just do the quick math.
200.
81 million.
284.
284.
666.
666. So in that election, I polled 425 people. And I got 353 of them said they voted against the other party, either voted against Trump or against Biden. None of them voted for.
Yeah.
That's 83% of the people. So if I multiply Biden's number times 0.17, I get 13,818,000 people voted for Biden. And Trump's number was, what was Trump? He got way less votes.
74 million. So 74, 224,
224,
319.
319. So at 83% voting against Biden and not for Trump, so I'll multiply that again times 0.17. That means he got 12,618,000 votes for Trump. So it's 13 million plus 12 million plus votes instead of 81 million plus and 74 million votes.
Yeah.
And by the way, I know that some people believe there's a controversy about whether there was a rigged election or whatever. I'm not weighing in on that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you aren't either.
No, I think it was just like coming off of COVID.
Yeah, but still, regardless of how they were rigged, it's way less votes for, mostly against. And then we just did the most recent election. Now, it only happened a few days ago, so I've only had a chance to interview 186 people. 160 of those people were voting against the other candidate, or 86%. So I do have these numbers. Trump had 74,686,551 votes. He won the popular vote.
Mm-hmm.
To Harris's 69,204,767. So if I do this, now it's only 14% actually voted for the candidate.
What did you say Harris' number?
I had 69,204,767.
It's now 70,964,600.
Okay, give me the number of what it is now. 70 million.
964.
964.
962.
962. Now, in this case, on my poll, which was 186 people, 86% voted against, not for, which means only 14% voted for Harris. So if I multiply that times 0.14, it's almost 10 million people. So 10 million votes versus 70 million votes actually were people who were supporting her. And what'd you get for Trump for the final tally, or the most current tally?
It was just the same number.
74, 686, 551.
Yeah.
So in that case, we've got 10,456,117. So Trump, if you look at my stats, and Harris did not get 74 million and 70 million votes. They only got like 9 and 10 million votes, which is way less, right?
Yeah.
Which tells you that the country isn't really supporting either of these two people.
Right.
You know the expression a mandate, like the taxpayers have given you a mandate and you can do whatever you want because everybody wants you, right? But that's not really the case if you look at it this way. It would be nice. I would love to see this, a different ballot. And the ballot gives you two choices for each presidential candidate. You can only pick one. Either I'm voting for Harris or I'm voting for Trump, or I'm voting against Harris or against Trump. Now, if I'm voting for Harris, she gets the vote. If I'm voting for Trump, he gets the vote. If I'm voting instead, I don't put anything there. I'm voting against Harris, Trump gets the vote. If I'm voting against Trump, Harris gets the vote. This would be nice because then it would give presidents a real view as to what their support really is.
Yeah.
Right? Are people like, you're the lesser of two evils and you're both evil? Or are people like, we really like this person, right? And maybe more than half of the votes, maybe 75% of the votes are actually for as opposed to against.
Yeah.
It would be nice for them to see because then maybe they would be more careful about not trying to beat down, once they win, the other side with their rules and with their desires.
I realized something when I was talking to a lot of people. The battle between good and evil is so clear to only few people because when I asked them, I said, I think this election is a lesser two evil situation. And this person says, I don't think it's that clear. I think it's clear what the good and the evil is. But I hardly encounter somebody who will say that. It's mostly people saying, I dislike both of them, but I'm forced because of the two-party system.
But that actually supports this position.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
somebody says it's clear who the evil is. The other day, after swim practice, I'm getting dressed, and this guy comes up to me and he says, hey, you're voting today? I said, yeah, I'm voting. And he said, well, make sure you vote against, you know who you're voting. I'm sure you should be voting against the crazy party. And I said, which one's the crazy party?
Yeah.
And he said, Trump is crazy. And I said, so you're voting against Trump? And he goes, yeah, I'm voting against Trump. I said, so you really don't care about how good Harris is? And he said, no, she's good. I said, well, who are you voting for or against, even before the election? And it was clear that he was voting against Trump. And what you're saying is when people say it's clear who the evil party is, and I mean, some people think one side's evil, some people think the other side's evil, right?
Yeah.
That shows that they're voting against evil. They're not voting for good.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And that's what you're getting at.
Yeah. It's always like we too, like we are gonna win. Oh, we just won Pennsylvania. It's always like this.
Yeah, it's very much us against them, which is another podcast we're going to do on the dangers of the party system, the pros and cons of having a party system. But we're not doing that today.
Okay.
So, what would be so the future's coming, right? And the future involves AI, right? Here's what would be kind of a cool system: is you don't vote. You simply respond to questions that are asked of you with respect to what you want on the key issues. And AI tells you who you should vote for. And it's not just two parties, maybe, because AI could also help us uncover good candidates, right? Because right now we end up with two people. And by the way the primary system works, if you happen to be in our state, which is New York, you don't get to choose from like 8 or 10 candidates fighting for the primary, because by the time they get to New York, everybody's dropped out except 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. So you don't even really get to select who's going to be on the Democrat or Republican ballot by the time you're in one of the later states. But there could be 15 or 20 or 25 or 30 prospective candidates. And it'd be pretty cool if you created a software package with AI, that it was essentially coming up with all the right questions and then asking people what their answers are to those questions and matching them to the right candidates for the role of president, right?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and then even in the final ballot, you're not, because people, once emotion gets into it, it's difficult for everybody, all of humans, to be rational, right? And that's what's happening. We get so hyper emotional against the party that we don't really think so much about what's good about the candidate we want.
Yeah. We won't look into their policies. We just kind of see what the image, because there is a branding to each party.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're kind of associating your beliefs to the image of them.
As
You already
defined,
made up your mind.
right, as defined by the other party usually.
Yeah.
Right? Like the one party will try to characterize the other candidate as evil in some way, right?
Hmm.
You know, like a cheat or a liar or a fascist or, it doesn't matter.
Communist.
They want to frame you to the other side. And we sometimes don't have time to dig in deep enough to figure out if that branding is actually correct. Right. So the branding that's created would be totally ignored by AI, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe there's 10 important issues and we're emotional about one, right? We're so emotional about one issue, we can't see past that. But if you look in the balance, if we have 8 good things on the other side, but the really emotional issue is on the side we like, we're going to ignore all those perhaps, right? So I don't know what the future holds with respect to AI, and that's probably another podcast. In fact, I think it's on our list.
Yeah.
Something about AI and what jobs are safe for the future, but we're not doing that today.
Right.
But it would be interesting to see how people would vote if they eliminated the emotion.
I think that's a great idea.
And in your generation, you're seeing a lot of emotion.
So many emotions.
Yeah, you know what else I see?
We're governed by emotions, actually.
Right? And people get so hostile about if you're on the other side. And they don't, like, what I would want to know is, and I'm a moderate, I'm in the middle, basically. I like to look at both sides. But it would be nice if we had a discussion about why, if you're so in favor of one side, don't you want to know why the other people are in favor of the other side? Figure out what's going through their head. Maybe you learn something.
I wish that was the case, but people make up. I mean, I didn't think it was a thing where people would diminish friendships.
Oh, I know. Friendships are definitely being lost over this.
Yeah.
I've seen posts on Facebook, which basically say, if you voted for the other side, never talk to me again. You'd think you'd want to talk to them and say, why would you vote? Because if you're so sure that your side is good and the other side's evil, most people have brains, right?
Mm-hmm.
There must be some reason that they're voting for the other side. Wouldn't you want to know that?
Yeah.
I would want to. I'm just looking to see where we are on time, Chris. We're at 18 minutes. So anyway, that would be my takeaway is it would be nice if we could filter out the emotion and focus on issues and then also try to understand why the other side is voting this way, especially if they're a friend.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a friendship over which way they voted. Well, they were your friend, which means you must have respected them at one time.
Yeah.
So maybe figure out why they're voting on a way that you think is evil instead of voting on the way that you believe is good.
I agree.
All right. That's it for today.
Thank you, sir.
See ya.
Bye.